The tray crashed. Glass cracked olives rolled, cheese scattered like coins. I knelt before anyone moved. Not one hand reached down. Not one voice said my name. Only Vanessa's sharp rehearsed. "Where have you been, you useless old woman? My family's been sitting here for an hour, starving." Laughter followed, polite, social, cruel. Daniel didn't say a word. He looked at his plate, just kept cutting his ham. I picked up the shards with both hands, pressing my fingertips around the wet glass. No gloves, no towel, just quiet. Someone walked past their heel, nudging my side. No apology. I kept collecting. One piece, then another. When I stood, my knees clicked. I felt 40 eyes move on the way you glance at a wall and forget what color it is. I set the broken tray in the sink, rinsed my fingers. Blood had dotted one thumb. I ran it under cold water and kept breathing. That's when I saw it. One cup had survived. White porcelain gold rim, older than most people in the room. My husband had given it to me the year our son was born. I dried it carefully and placed it on the counter. Behind me, the laughter resumed. Music started. Plates clinked. Vanessa's mother poured wine like she lived here. I wiped my hands on the apron. Then I walked outside. No one noticed. I stood on the porch. Wind low. Street quiet. I closed the door softly behind me. Let the cold press into my face. Let it clear whatever was still burning in my chest. I didn't cry. I leaned on the railing and stared into the dark until the music inside turned into nothing but thumps. I didn't go back in. By the time the dessert was served, I was already sitting under the old oak in the backyard coat, pulled tight shoes damp in the grass. Somewhere upstairs, the bedroom light clicked on. Not mine. I didn't move. I listened. And in the quiet, I heard the lock slide into place. I turned the knob. It didn't move. Tried again. Nothing. I knocked once, then twice. Vanessa's voice floated down the stairs. She's probably confused. She went out last night, who knows what she was doing. Daniel opened the door, his expression already braced. "Hey, Mom, just a heads up. We moved some things around." I stepped inside, or what used to be inside. The room was bare. My bed frame gone. No dresser. No photos. My small ceramic lamp was missing. The rug I'd brought from the old house was rolled and leaning against the wall like trash. He gestured toward the door to the garage. "It's just for a bit. We needed space for Sharon. You know Vanessa's mom has back issues." I didn't speak. I walked down the hallway, turned the knob to the garage. There it was, my mattress pushed into the far corner. One blanket. One crate with my folded clothes. No heat vent. A single bulb flickered above the washer. I sat on the edge of the mattress, reached for a blouse, folded it slowly, both hands pressing each edge to meet. I could hear laughter upstairs, the clink of breakfast dishes. Someone turned up the TV. I kept folding. My breath came light, but not unsteady. No questions, no protest. I opened my old trunk. Beneath the last layer of scarves was the box. Small, steel, still locked. I turned the key I always kept on the ribbon in my bra strap. Inside my bank account, printouts, copies of the house deed, my husband's final letter, a flash drive, and the red folder. I took out the folder, checked each page, then reached for the notebook underneath. Flipped past old entries. Wrote down a new one. December 25th, garage. December 34th, final call. I closed the notebook. Slipped it back in. Relocked the box. Vanessa called from upstairs. "Could you start the laundry?" "Evelyn, thanks." I placed the box deep beneath the folded linens, then stood, pulled the string to shut the bulb. And in the dark, I listened again, this time, to the silence of a door that now locked from the outside. I carried up the platter, set it down, turned to leave. Vanessa didn't lower her voice. Once the paperwork's in Daniel's name, I'm thinking we can knock out the wall in the study. Her mother laughed. Finally. You deserve that reading room. And maybe extend the upstairs bath. No point keeping her half bath locked up for one person. I paused just past the frame of the kitchen door. The hallway felt tight. My hands still smelled of oranges. Vanessa's father asked, and the title, "It's just a formality," she said. "Once it's processed, it's ours." She won't even notice. My foot made a sound on the floorboard. Daniel cleared his throat. "She's still here, Ness." A pause. "She knows we're just planning," Vanessa said quickly. "No need to act like we're doing something wrong." I didn't step forward. I closed the hallway door behind me. Not loud, not soft, just final. I sat on the stair landing. My hands rested together, fingers locked. Not praying, just still. They laughed again. Champagne cork. Forks tapping glass. I waited. An hour later, I walked out the side gate and toward Main Street. The cold brushed my sleeves. I didn't rush. I passed the bakery, the shoe repair shop, and turned left at the courthouse. The library was nearly empty. I asked the desk clerk, could I get a property record lookup? He typed for a while. What address? I told him. He printed it without asking why. I unfolded the sheet right there. Owner Evelyn Hartwell. Soul. He smiled. Still in your name, ma'am. I nodded. Thank you. I folded the paper twice, then tucked it inside my coat pocket. The sky had turned gray by the time I reached the corner. I walked slower on the way home. Counted steps. Watched the cracks in the pavement. 112 steps from the bus stop to the front gate. 40 more to the porch. I didn't go inside right away. I looked up at the second-floor window, the one they were planning to tear apart, and I stood there long enough for the cold to settle into my sleeves. Vanessa clapped her hands. Everyone to the living room. I wiped my hands on a towel and stepped in, still smelling of roast and dishwater. She pointed proudly. New year. New wall frames lined the entryway now, large, polished, symmetrical. Daniel in his graduation gown, the kids in matching sweaters, Vanessa holding the baby, her parents, her sister, even their dog. Not me. Not one. The wedding photo of Daniel's father and me gone. The faded shot of Daniel's first day of school standing on my porch with a crooked lunchbox gone. I walked closer. The spot where our wedding photo used to hang had been patched over. Light paint, uneven. They didn't even try to match the tone. Do you like it? Vanessa asked. We wanted it to feel current. Daniel didn't meet my eyes. I exhaled once. Slow. Through my nose. Then I turned, walked to the kitchen, opened the drawer beneath the oven mitts, reached under the liner, pulled out the photo drive. Still there. I placed it next to the manila envelope. Thick. Labeled in my handwriting, trust adjustments. Signed. Notarized last fall. I closed the drawer. Later that evening, as the others popped champagne in the living room and the kids watched fireworks on TV, I sat at the edge of the garage mattress. The laundry hummed behind me. I pulled out my phone, found Hugo's name, called once. He picked up before the second ring. I didn't greet him. I just said, everything's ready. January 5th. Then I hung up. I reached for my robe, draped it over my shoulders, and sat in the dark. No photos, no voices, just the rhythm of the spin cycle and the ticking heat pipe behind my head. Vanessa knocked twice, didn't wait for a response. She stepped into the garage holding a stack of papers clipped together with a pink binder clip. Hey, Evelyn. Sorry to bother, just a little paperwork, boring stuff. Insurance updates and all that? I nodded, took the folder without a word. She smiled like she was handing over a dinner menu. You just need to sign the bottom of that one page. Shouldn't take more than a second. I flipped to the last sheet. My name was already there. Signed. In cursive. Perfectly neat. Too neat. I tilted the page toward the window light, held it at an angle. The ink shimmered like it hadn't dried naturally. Property transfer. Full ownership rights. Witness line blank. I let the paper rest in my lap. Daniel already signed his part, Vanessa said lightly. This just finalizes everything in case you know anything happens. I looked up, smiled. I'll review this later, I said. Oh, her voice tightened. Sure. No rush. She left before I could close the folder. That night, after the dishes were done and the lights upstairs dimmed, I set the paper on the folding table, plugged in the scanner, pulled up an old file. My real signature from the mortgage papers. I matched them side by side. They didn't align, too clean, too practiced, too flat. Mine had pressure, curve, hesitation. This one looked traced. I printed both. Labeled one original, deed 2004. Labeled the other. Forgery, attempted transfer. Slipped them into the red folder. Snapped the cover shut. I stood, stretched my arms, rolled my shoulders back. I looked at the heater vent near the ceiling and listened to the faint hum of the upstairs TV. Someone laughed, a fake, distant laugh. I walked to the corner, turned off the desk lamp, and sat back down on the mattress. The floor under my bare feet was cold, but the box beneath it had weight. And this time, I wasn't the one pretending anymore. I set down 3 cups, one black one with cream, one with sugar. Vanessa glanced over. Careful, Evelyn. Remember who's who, I smiled. I'll try. Daniel cleared his throat, avoided my eyes. The couple across from him, old friends from his firm, watched me with tilted heads. Mom's been a little forgetful, Vanessa said gently, reaching for her coffee. Stress, I think. Oh, the wife said, smiling politely. It's normal at that age, her husband added. Might be time to think about some support. There are great places now. Community structure. Daniel nodded. We've talked about options. I didn't speak. I walked back to the kitchen and rinsed a spoon, set it aside, dried my hands on the same apron they never noticed. I poured a 4th cup and drank it, standing up. After lunch, while they chatted in the living room, I began clearing plates. Lucia helped. 14, quiet, sharp. She never said much, but she always watched. As she handed me a stack of napkins, her fingers brushed mine, slipped something folded into my palm. She didn't say a word. Later in the garage, I unfolded it. I know you're not confused. I'm on your side. L. I didn't smile. I just pressed the note flat and slid it into the red folder. That night when the house was silent and the only light came from the water heater glow, I opened my laptop, clicked into the folder marked Backups, opened the subfolder Recordings, December. Click. Save. Archive. Labeled the file. Jan 4, guest remarks, memory loss. Allegation.mp3. I leaned back. Let the quiet fill the corners of the garage. I didn't need to correct them. Let them believe what they wanted. Sometimes the role they force on you becomes the armor you wear until it's no longer needed. And sometimes pretending to forget is just a way to remember better. I passed the mashed potatoes, then reached for the pepper. Vanessa was halfway through, bragging about her mother's upcoming cruise, when I tilted my head and asked, "Did the county office process that deed transfer already?" Daniel dropped his fork. Vanessa froze mid-sentence. What deed? I stirred my coffee. Oh, the one you brought me last week. The one already signed. I just remembered I never followed up. Daniel cleared his throat. It was just an insurance thing, Mom. I smiled. Right. That's what you said. No one moved. I took a sip. Didn't blink. The spoon in my cup stayed still. No clink. Just silence. Then I smiled wider and said, "Anyway, this roast is lovely, Vanessa." She exhaled. Daniel nodded too fast. The conversation lurched on like nothing had happened, but they didn't finish their food. That night, while the dishwasher hummed upstairs and someone's footsteps passed over the ceiling joists, I opened my laptop again. Hugo answered on the first ring. "It's ready," I said. "I'll file it first thing in the morning," he replied. "They won't know until they try something." Perfect. I emailed the documents. The trust would activate immediately. Ownership held sealed, protected. No signature trick would undo it now. I didn't celebrate. I just closed the file, shut the laptop, and put it back in the red folder. Then I poured myself another cup of coffee and sat on the edge of the bed. The vent blew warm air across the floor. My feet stayed grounded. The next morning, I woke before sunrise. Baked cinnamon bread. Let the scent fill the house. I cut 4 slices, left 2 on the counter uncovered. I knew who'd come for them, and I knew what they'd assume, that I was still trying, that I was still soft. I cleaned the counter, wiped the knife, and opened the window just enough to let the cold air kiss the edge of the pan. I stood before the cake was cut. The knife hovered over the frosting. Vanessa's hand still held the lighter near the candles. "I'd like to share something," I said. "Before dessert." Daniel looked up. "Mom, now?" "Yes." I walked to the TV, took the remote from the shelf, turned on the screen, clicked play, audio first. Their voices clear. She won't even notice. Once the house is in Daniel's name. Another clip. She's been forgetting things. Might be time for care. Then a third Vanessa's voice, clipped and cold. "Just sign it, she won't read it anyway." The room tightened. Then came the footage. Me in the garage reviewing the deed, matching signatures. My fingers holding them to the light. I paused the screen on one still frame. Forged the label read. No one moved. I looked at Daniel. Not angry, just steady. He opened his mouth, closed it. Vanessa dropped the lighter onto the table. I turned off the TV. Silence. "I wanted clarity," I said. "Now we have it." I returned to my seat. On the table beside me, a black envelope. I didn't touch it. It held the eviction notice and the notarized trust. It had been filed days ago, already recognized, already irreversible. I picked up my fork. The cake was lemon, dry. I chewed slowly. Swallowed. The others hadn't moved. Vanessa finally stood mumbling something about needing air. Her chair scraped the floor. Daniel sat still. I took another bite. Sipped my coffee. The envelope stayed on the table. Not handed. Not explained. Just present. I didn't need to raise my voice. The file had spoken louder than I ever could. I turned the key, heard the click, locked it from the inside. Then I brewed coffee. 1 scoop, 1 cup, no second mug. Outside, their footsteps crunched the gravel. I didn't rise, didn't peek. The bell rang once, then again. A knock, sharp. Vanessa's voice tight with disbelief. "Mom, why is the lock changed?" Another knock. Evelyn opened the door. Daniel tried the handle. It didn't turn. I stood, walked to the hallway, taped neatly to the doorframe a printed note. "For further discussion, please contact Hugo Reynolds' attorney." Below it, his number, clear, formal. I didn't need to repeat myself. I walked back to the kitchen. Steam rose from the mug. The scent filled the small space. No shouting, no panic, just quiet. I sat in my robe watching the light stretch through the slats of the curtain. It reached across the floor, soft and slow. Their voices outside rose, then dropped. A pause. The sound of keys fumbling. A car door slammed. Another pause. I didn't move. Eventually, only birdsong remained. I opened the side drawer near the sink. Inside, Daniel's old drawing from 2nd grade. A house lopsided, but smiling. stick figures holding hands. I looked at it for a moment, then slid it back in, closed the drawer gently. Some things didn't need to be erased to be left behind. I picked up the mug, took a sip. Warm. Steady. The house held its silence like a gift. I slide open the glass door, step out barefoot onto the porch. The wood is warm under my feet. The air is salt and silence. I place the tray on the small table. One chair, one cup, one brass pot still warm from the stove. I sit. The ocean doesn't move quickly. It folds in and folds out quiet and sure of itself. I lift the pot, tilt it gently. Coffee pours into the porcelain cup, the same one I saved from the tray that shattered on Christmas Eve. The first drop doesn't spill. My hand is steady. No shaking, no rushing. I breathe in the steam, let it touch my face. I don't drink right away. I wait. Across the small table, an envelope rests. Cream-colored, unopened. The handwriting on the front is mine, in case they try again. I don't reach for it. I already know what's inside. The sea keeps moving. The light moves with it. I hold the cup in both hands, lift it to my lips. It's strong. No sugar. No cream. Exactly how I like it. I look forward. I don't think about the house, the locks, the laughter that didn't last. I think about the silence that followed. I sip again. The cup stays full longer when no one tries to take it from you.